This is episode 2. I am ruled by my schedule. Do you struggle to start your day with purpose? Do you feel anxious and unable to relax? Do you feel like you don't have a say in your own schedule? In this episode, we're going to talk about how to front load your priorities, what it looks like to not be present, and how to seek the kingdom of God first. You are listening to Persistence in Prayer with Catholic mindset coach Kylie Hine. Hello, everyone, and welcome. If you're new here, my name is Kylie, and I am a Catholic mindset coach as well as a 7th through 12th grade math educator, at least for a few more months. I am a mother of 2, and God has called me to bring souls back to Him. That is my mission and my purpose in life, and it is something that I absolutely love. Catholic coaching has been life-changing for me, and I just want to share it with the world. I'm going to start today with a little story about me. My husband and I started dating about 10 years ago. We had known each other in college, but we had recently started hanging out again at a sand volleyball tournament, which was a memorial fundraiser in honor of my late mother. And at this point in time, we were living about an hour and 45 minutes apart. So we only got to see each other on the weekend. I was living in Des Moines, Iowa, and my now husband would come up to visit me, and we didn't have a lot of time together because of my schedule. Now, I had warned my husband, Russell, before we started officially dating that my schedule was nuts, that I was a busy person and I didn't have a lot of time. Now, we all know as adults that one person's definition of a word is not the same as another person's definition of that same word. So when I said busy, what he imagined in his mind was not what was actually going on in my life. Let me explain. I was a high school math teacher at a very large Catholic school. There were a lot of expectations at that school. Many that I placed on myself, but there were also a lot from the school in general. And that is true if you have any friends in education. They will tell you the same thing. There are certain expectations that come from being in the world of education. There are expectations to spend time with your students, to keep up on all of your grading, to have assessments, to have lesson plans, to email teachers, to keep up on all of the things. And that is time consuming. It is very, very time consuming, especially in a subject like math, where it is necessary very often to work with students both before and after school to give them the extra assistance that they need if at some point they have fallen behind, or as I have found in my case, many of them have confidence issues. And so they just need that one-on-one reinforcement to help boost their confidence and their mental strength, and that they have an ability to achieve high levels of math, because all of us do. It doesn't look the same for everyone, but we all have those abilities. And so they needed that one-on-one time. Now, in addition to that, I was also getting up every morning at 4:40 a.m. to go to the gym to work out with a good friend. That was part of my social time, and it was also how I reasoned that I was staying healthy, because I needed a stress outlet. I needed a stress outlet because my job was stressful at the time. I needed a stress outlet because in addition to teaching, I was coaching club volleyball, which meant that 2 nights a week I was out late at practice, and I was gone every single weekend. Even if we had a tournament in my town, that meant that I was giving up a full day from 6 a.m. to late at night coaching. And that meant that all of my grading from my full-time job would fall on Sunday after Mass. And any social time that I wanted to fit in outside of that had to happen late Saturday night or on a Sunday afternoon. In addition to this, I was working on a master's in ministry degree that I had just started. Now, I want you to understand, I was a math educator taking graduate level theology courses. It was not easy. There were a lot of tears when I started my first class on the Old Testament. I later found out that that was the most difficult class, and I just happened to have that scheduled first. But I didn't know that at the time, so I was struggling with confidence. I was feeling like I was stupid. I was trying to keep up with all the work stuff. And then in comes to my life this man that God sent to me who wanted to just spend time with me. And he didn't understand that my busy was really, really busy. So I remember one weekend he came up and he was such a great sport. If you don't have a Russell in your life, you need to get one. Pray to the Lord to send you someone to just light up your life and help you along the way. It doesn't have to be a spouse. It can be a really good friend too. But my husband would show up, boyfriend at the time, newly dating, and he would come to volleyball tournaments with me if he needed to, if that's the only way that we could hang out. I remember one weekend I was so sick, but it was an in-town tournament, and he just wanted to hang out. He came and he spent the day with me and a team of 14-year-old girls at a volleyball tournament. He brought me Kleenex and ran to the store. He got me cough drops and cold medicine. He cheered on my team, and just helped me survive the day. If I remember correctly, it was also really close to Valentine's Day, so that was his act of love toward me, was just hanging out, and it was a beautiful blessing. What a gift. After weeks of this, though, I remember sitting down with my husband, boyfriend at the time, and he looked at me and he said, "Kylie, I know you told me you were busy when we started dating, but I didn't know that people lived like this." And that, it was like a knife to my heart, because it was true. And that's what got me. He didn't know that people lived like this, and that was okay, but it was like the undertones of that. And this is what he said. He said, "I don't care that you have a lot of things to do, but when I'm here, I need you here with me." And he was not asking for an entire weekend. He was literally looking at me saying, "When I'm here, can I have an hour where your mind is not on all of the crap that you have to do?" Because I can tell that when I'm talking to you, you're looking at me and you're nodding your head and you're responding, but your mind is on that giant stack of papers that you have to grade. I will help you grade the papers, but when we're done, can you spend an hour with me? And that hit me so hard, because it was true. I was doing all of these things, but I wasn't truly present in any of them, because my mind was automatically rushing to the next thing, to all of the things that were on my to-do list. I had papers to write for my master's program and tons of reading to do. I had to get up early to go to the gym. I had schoolwork and lesson plans, and I was teaching classes where sometimes I hadn't done that concept in years, and I had to not only know how to do it myself, which I could figure out pretty quickly, but how to teach it to students who were not at the same level where I was. And that took time. The achiever in me, an achiever, I say that as a strengths finder identification. Number one is achiever, and that means that I start each day at 0, and I don't always feel like my day has been purposeful unless things have gotten done. Now, I've worked really hard on this and I've come such a long way, but that is always going to be something that I have to recognize, is I'm an achiever and I'm always starting at 0, and all of the things don't have to be done. So I tell you this story because something that I find in Catholic coaching a lot is mothers or young adults feel like they are ruled by their schedule. We live in a culture and a society that is constantly telling us we need to do. But the truth is, we don't have to do that. It's a choice. I want to share with you this thought from my mom. I am always on the go. I'm ruled by my schedule and not my own choices. I'm going to say that to you again, because I want it to sink in. And if you've ever felt this before, if you've ever had this thought before, I just want you to think back on when was the last time that you had a thought similar to this. I am always on the go, ruled by my schedule, and not my own choices. Now, the example I gave you was before I ever even had kids. So if you have children, you know that that throws in a whole nother wrench to this system of not having control of your schedule. Because truly, there are things that are out of your control. You cannot control when your children wake up in the middle of the night and they have to go to the bathroom, or when they are sick and they puke all over everything and you have to clean it up. You don't have a say in that. However, you do have a choice in a lot of things. There are many things that are in your locus of control. You get to control how you show up in those moments when your kids puke all over everything. You get to choose how you show up when your schedule changes. You get to choose what things you additionally add to your schedule or take upon yourself and which things you don't. So again, I'm going to go back to this perceived problem. I'm always on the go. I'm ruled by my schedule and not my own choices. This leads to anxiety about not being able to relax. It leads to guilt about maybe prioritizing work over family, about not being present with loved ones. And that can just spiral. At least in my own situation, I can tell you these thoughts spiral. And in my Catholic coaching, I constantly have clients and they will tell you that these thoughts continue to spiral. We start a session focusing on one thought, and then more thoughts arise and arise and arise. And we try to go back to the first one to really pinpoint. We want to start with the deepest, heaviest thought first and then move forward. But as we work through them, we see that they're all kind of related to this original thought and feeling. In this situation, being about anxiety that I can't relax, guilt that I'm not present with my family. Okay, so this is the problem. Now you're probably saying, Kylie, when are you going to get to the point? Where's my solution? I need a solution to this problem. I know the problem well. I am living it. Where's the solution? So I'm going to tell you a solution today. Front load your priorities. You have to front load your priorities in your day, because if you wait until the end of the day, till after you've done all of the things, all the quote unquote things that you have to do, if you let your schedule run you, your priorities are not going to ever happen. The things that you need the most in your life to make you feel fulfilled and purposeful are going to be put last. And we all know what happens when you wait and you have them last. If you try to do those things at the end of the day, you don't have any energy left. You're tired. You go to bed and you fall asleep. It doesn't get done. So if you want it done, you have to front load your priorities. So here's how you do this. Number one, you figure out what are your priorities, okay? For me, if I were to sit down, which I encourage you to do, I encourage you to actually sit down, get out a piece of paper and a pen, invite the Lord in and say, Lord, what are my priorities? Now, your priority list may not look like my priority list. My priority list right now, I'm going to share it with you, but it did not look like this 10 years ago. It did not look like this 5 years ago, and it probably did not even look like this 2 years ago. This is a process, but I knew that my priority list that I wrote down 10 years ago was not what I wanted it to look like. And I'm so thankful that I spent the time on it. Okay, so I'm telling you, it is worth the time. I still sit down and think about what are my priorities and am I keeping them in the order that they are supposed to be prioritized. For me right now, my number one priority every single day is prayer. And since I have made that switch, since I have worked toward making that a priority, I can promise you everything else in my life has gotten better. Okay? Because what does God tell us? He says, seek first the kingdom of God. How do you seek the kingdom of God? Well, you go to the one who is the creator of the kingdom. And in order to do that, you have to spend time and you have to be present. I wasn't even present with my own boyfriend who was going to become my husband. If I wasn't present with him, you can guarantee I was not present with the Lord at that time in my life either. So, priority number one for me is to spend time with God. Why? Because he's the creator If I want supernatural graces in my life, if I want things to go well, you can't manifest those, okay? You spend time with the Lord and you ask him, God, is this something that you even want for my life? Is this your will or is this my will? Because if it's my will, then maybe it's not so important. And you spend time learning to hear the voice of God. That's my number one priority. Number two priority is my family. If you are watching this on YouTube, I'm going to show you a picture here, if I can find it. I moved it. Okay. I drew this very amateur painting. I painted this amateur painting 2 years ago on retreat. I had been in such a place of discernment for so long that I really needed to figure out what my priorities were. And it came up in spiritual direction and it came up in prayer. And I got to tell you, this was a 6-year prayer process. And every time I went on retreat, it came up again. And I was too scared to follow it. That's another talk. But if you can see this picture, there are three essentially key parts to it. Okay, so priority number one, the way of the cross, trying to find the Lord. Okay, and seeking him first, seeking the kingdom first. If what I am doing in my life is not serving God, then I don't need it in my life. That is something I can cut from my schedule. If it is not helping me to grow in virtue, if it is not helping me to be present and build relationships with the people around me so that I can help them seek the kingdom of God, then it doesn't need to be in my schedule. Number two, I have wedding rings here. My vocation as a wife and a mother. You can also see down here at the bottom, it looks like a pregnant Blessed Virgin Mary. Okay, that is a reminder of my own pregnancies. There are 3 flowers down here that represent the 3 pregnancies that I have had. But following the Blessed Mother and being a mother in my own life. Number 2 priority is family. My vocation as a wife and a mother. That has to come second. Not last, not after all of my work stuff, my life as an educator, my life as a Catholic coach, my life as a student, my life as someone in spiritual direction courses. All of that comes after my time with my kids and with my husband. So the solution to the guilt about work, the solution to the anxiety if I can't relax, is to front load your priorities first. What does that look like? You're going to start your day with purpose. Yeah, I know it's simple. You start your day with purpose. If you are not a morning person and you follow me on Instagram and you see my 4:30 a.m. Instagram post of getting up for prayer time, you know that I start my day with purpose. I also want you to know that I have not always woken up and started my day with purpose. Even 10 years ago when I was getting up early in the morning, I was going to the gym. I was putting my physical self first, not my spiritual self first, right? Prayers I saved till later in the day or at night, and then I'd fall asleep and try again the next day and fall asleep the next day, right? Or I would try to make excuses and I would say, well, my prayer time is going to be my spiritual reading for my master's class. Like, it's about the Bible, so surely that's enough. But it's not, because your spiritual life isn't just intellectual. It is spiritual, right? So it's not about reading all the things. It's about sitting with the Lord and listening. And I was not doing any listening. I was just doing a lot of doing. That's not okay. We need to listen. Now you might be asking yourself, well, how do I start my day with purpose? How do I get myself out of bed? Because I'm not a morning person. You don't have to be a morning person to start your day with purpose. You have to have a reason to get yourself out of bed. And you have to know a little bit about yourself too. If you are a choleric, let's say temperament-wise, and you know that if you set a goal, you're going to get up and do it, great. That's going to work for you. You can say, all right, I'm just going to start doing it, and you might be able to do it. But if you're a sanguine and you like things to be fun, you might need to think about, what's something fun that I could do in the morning that is also going to be purposeful, that is going to help me get out of bed. You also have to recognize that if you start getting up earlier, you have to start going to bed a little bit earlier, which means your evenings are going to change. Start your day with purpose. Look up the Heroic Minute by Saint, Jose Maria Escriva, the Heroic Minute. Look it up. Okay, I will try to post something on my Instagram as well. So if you want to know what the Heroic Minute is, again, that's Saint Jose Maria Escriva, Heroic Minute. Help start your day with purpose. Number 2 is to manage your expectations. Having a purposeful morning does not happen overnight. You have to recognize where you are right now. I used to listen to all of these podcasts. Some of them were more secular, and maybe that was part of the problem. They talk about the 5 a.m. club and getting up. And I had a toddler and a newborn at home, and I would get angry, like really angry and resentful, because I didn't want to hear about the 5 a.m. club. They'd be like, you just have to do it. It's the grind. You get up and you do it. And I thought to myself, these people are clearly not mothers with small children at home, because you can't just do it. We need sleep. We need sleep to get through our days. So recognize where you are and manage your expectations. If you have small children at home, maybe your getting up in the morning is just whenever you wake up, you sleep as long as you can until the baby wakes up. And then you give your 5 minutes to God. I talked about that in episode 1 if you want to go back and give that a listen. In my situation, once my kids got a little bit older, my shift to getting up earlier in the morning always happened around daylight savings time, when time naturally switched anyway, and my body clock would go off earlier, and that's kind of how I started my early morning practice. It was also a less busy season in terms of my schedule. I've been a head volleyball coach for many years, and so the daylight saving switch would come toward the end of my volleyball season, and so it was easier for me to get up because I wasn't staying up so late. The other thing I want to talk about with managing your expectations is have a plan for how you are going to spend your morning time. I remember I started getting up in the morning and I'd be so excited, like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I'm getting journaling in, I'm getting prayer time in, this is awesome. And then it was like, wow, I could get the dishes done. I could work out. And so I tried to start getting up just a little bit earlier. And then I tried to fit in so many things that I'd be miserable. And it took away all of the joy from my morning time. And then I'd end up quitting and had to restart again and again and again. So just manage your expectations. Start small. Think about what your morning routine looks like right now. And how can you start to implement one tiny little habit that is going to get you closer to a purposeful morning where you can feel good about your day and your priorities are being front-loaded. Number 3, make every moment count. I can't tell you how precious my mornings with my children have become. I am less anxious about getting to work on time. Honestly, I always got to work way earlier than I needed to anyway, but it's because I felt like I had so much work that I needed to do. And now, if I show up 10 minutes later, I show up 10 minutes later. I'm still there before my contract time, but I spend that extra 10 minutes not yelling at my kids, just kind of being a more peaceful mom. I climb in bed with my 4-year-old and I snuggle him for a minute instead of just telling him, hey, it's time to get up. We got to go, 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 go. I spend a little bit more time being patient with my daughter. I know that she needs that in the morning. And when I front load my time with them, they have a better day and I have a better day and everything goes smoother. On days when I'm not working at my full-time job and we're home, but I still have tasks that I need to get done. For example, recording a podcast or uploading social media content. That can be a struggle because kids need you present. So, example of my own life, yesterday, I spent my entire morning with my kids. We went outside, we played soccer, we played with blocks and built things. I still did some dishes and some laundry, but I did it with my children in their room while they were working on something else. I was talking to them. I have found that this goes so much smoother because then they don't feel like they need me next to them the rest of the afternoon, and I'm able to get some small tasks done even though they are here. Or they are more willing to jump in and help me with those tasks because I have already spent time with them doing the fun things that they wanted to do. I used to have this completely backwards. I would wake up and think I need to give all of this time to my work. And then once I have all my work done, I'll be less anxious and I'll be able to spend this time with my kids without thinking about all of the things. But the problem was I wouldn't get my stuff done because the more time I gave myself to work on it, the more stuff I thought I needed to finish. And my kids were constantly interrupting because I hadn't spent time with them yet. This happened quite a while back. My 4-year-old just kept opening the door and I'd say, buddy, I just need 10 more minutes. I'm almost done. Just give me 10 minutes. And he'd keep showing up and he'd pop his little head in. And I started feeling anxious and resentful, like, oh, I'm irritated, buddy. I just need 10 minutes. Can you give me 10 minutes? And I'd start to recognize that I didn't like the tone that I was speaking to him. And number one, he's 4. He needs me. And number 2, if I would have just went and played Hot Wheels with him, he wouldn't be bothering me. So I stopped what I was doing. I went and told him, hey, we're going to play 20 minutes of Hot Wheels cars. We're going to race. And then mommy really needs to go finish what I was working on. And you know what? We did. And he gave me way more than 10 minutes because I had spent that time playing Hot Wheels with him. And I enjoyed it and he enjoyed it. And I went in there and I set a timer and I set my phone off to the side and I was truly present with him. I wasn't checking on my phone. I wasn't trying to work while I was playing. I was giving him my full attention. We used our imaginations. We played Hot Wheels. It was beautiful. And then I was able to get my work done. So I want to invite you that if you ever have the thought, I am ruled by my schedule, to really think about who is in control of your schedule. It's you. And what is the most important thing that fits on your schedule? Sit down, make a priority list, and remember to front load your priorities in your day. Build everything else around them. Give your first fruits to the Lord. I remember the first time I heard that and I thought, wow, first fruits to the Lord. And when that kind of started to taper off and that thought wasn't enough to get me out of bed, it was, Jesus is waiting for you. Kylie, Jesus is waiting for you. He's patiently waiting. And if you don't show up, he's going to keep waiting. And he's still going to love you. If you sleep in, he's still going to love you. But he's in there waiting. The King of the universe is waiting for you. So get your butt out of bed. Get up. And I started looking at it as an exciting way to spend my morning rather than something that I had to do. And when I started to see it from that perspective, Jesus is waiting for me. How incredible is that? He is waiting for you. Every morning, he is waiting to spend time with you. Every afternoon and every night, he is waiting for you. He's not just waiting for me. So if that's what you need to get up and prioritize your morning is that thought, Jesus is waiting for me. And everything else in the schedule can wait. My children are waiting for me. Everything else in the schedule can wait. Nothing is more important than your God and your vocation as a mother and as a wife. I didn't talk a lot about the husbands in there, but they are important too. So don't forget about them. They do matter. My husband usually gets more of his attention from me later in the evening and the afternoon. But if you're thinking, Kylie, you talked about God and you talked about your kids, but you didn't talk about your husband, remember the story. He was the one that got me to this place of awareness to recognize that I was not present. And he is still a constant reminder for me in my life. So front load your priorities. Have an amazing, incredible week. We are on the second full week of Lent. It's a beautiful time to restructure your day, to make a little sacrifice, to let go of some of the maybe unnecessary pieces of your schedule, and to emphasize time with the Lord and time with your children and time with your spouse. I'm Kylie Hine. I'm a Catholic mindset coach, and I would love it so very, very much and feel truly blessed if you would like and follow this page. Follow me on Instagram, and please, please reach out with your questions. You do not have to set up a coaching call. Send me a DM. I can point you in the right direction. Have a blessed day, and I'll see you next time.